Hello. Beautiful day, beautiful sun. What's on my mind today is this idea of kind of how we imagine, where our imagination stops in relation to how we understand what part of society or kind of what culture we can be a part of, kind of the amount we allow our imagination to, or the distance we allow our imagination to generate. That is really what I think it's really important in terms of the power of our mind, how we consider ourselves, how we choose to interpret ourselves, how we choose to um, perceive ourselves in relation to our circumstances and those around us. And especially when you've been in abusive scenarios, when you've been in demeaning scenarios, kind of institutional scenarios, scenarios where um, you weren't um, empowered and supported to exercise exploration of your free will in a safe and healthy way. You weren't taking the time to be explain things so you can wrap your rational mind, like going at your own pace, allowing your nervous system to have a place of stability and preparation before you do things, and you understand the context in which you do everything, that it's for the purpose of learning, and there's no like one big mess up and you're dead meat. You have all the humiliation, all um like demonization of other people, like these kinds of really heavy scenarios that can be kind of like the back setting that we imagine in our minds and that we can be taught through different life experiences, experiences we have in person, and then also things that have to do with like TV and hearing people's narratives and just the stories we tell ourselves to interpret and contextualize events and bodily sensations and thoughts, all these really complex parts of being human, like our minds, especially when you have really powerful minds that you rely on your mind, your rationality, words to dissect and interpret things. I think it can be really difficult sometimes for people to um, relearn. It can be challenging, relearning a way to imagine the very best scenarios that you could be a part of, to have a different set of options and narratives open to you. It can take a lot of faith and trial and error to have different experiences and different glimpses into other worlds, and to trust yourself enough to just fantasize and imagine, like, what would an amazing experience be? What would feed and nurture my heart? What would a healthy, nurturing dynamic, a safe feeling dynamic look like and feel like between me and other people? And I think if people have really grown up in these institutionalized, even like 9 to 5 work environment, like these kind of dynamics, you know, it can really train people to look to an authority outside of themselves for a cue, for the parameters of how we are allowed to interpret things sometimes, and I think that that's, you know kind of the plus side in a way to, this is said in a kind of lighthearted, joking way, but it's kind of the plus side of being kind of on the rebellious side, with having trusted yourself, believing in yourself, connecting to that part of yourself that's just like, no, this is my reality, I want to do it. That is kind of involved when you do have any kind of addiction or fixation that is outside of the your subculture's prescribed okay list, um, that is kind of an asset, important characteristics that everybody has to some degree, but this degree, or this characteristic, to be able to trust yourself and look to yourself as the authority and the one who says what the circumstances are or can be, or acknowledges that even if your physical surroundings, the rules are this thing, that doesn't mean that another community and another subculture won't have that a different reality, the one in which you can be really complimented and have your strengths highlighted, and your disadvantages supported for you to work on, you know so yeah, I think it's really important to consider the part of society we can even imagine ourselves in, and really practice building up, supporting ourselves and creating that inner voice, just as much as we can have this kind of critical, judgmental, angry, mean voice in our head, that kind of like Gollum, like really gritty, traumatized voice. Like the same as we can have that, we can have a voice just as powerful, but in the positive sense, to be extremely compassionate and full of love, full of empowerment, full of like, yes, excitement and passion and determination, and have that same grit, but through a positive lens. We can nurture that voice, and it takes practice, just like it takes practice to see examples and build a sketch around a really negative self-hating voice, and you think about it a lot, and it creates, it feeds into creating itself more. Just, and other people might condemn you, and that might be the survival way, that the only thing you have at that time in order to have some kind of focus, that you're just attempting to draw your attention and keep your eyes on a path and not on all the things that are like trying to attack you in your circumstance. It's kind of like, yeah, that kind of thing. It's like, if you can really draw your attention through abuse and keep your attention occupied in that way, then maybe you won't be thinking about other things that could really derail you even more. It's kind of like a lesser of two evils situation as a coping mechanism sometimes. But just as we take so much energy and time to build up that negative voice, we can do the same exact thing with building up the positive voice. And it's like, why not? Why wouldn't we want to enjoy life and want to understand ourselves outside of the traumatized way, understand ourselves as being in a world that has a lot of welcome in it, has a lot of safety in it, has a lot of people understanding us in it. But the only way to get there is to be honest, to affirm to ourselves that of course we don't know our identity, we don't know who we are for the rest of our life. We can't possibly predict that. We can predict, but it might not be accurate. But we can just affirm that we know who we are in the moment. We know what's important to us in the moment, what boundaries are necessary and safe for us given who we are at this point in time, our current circumstances. And we can just, going on that, know who we are and state we know who we are, even if that who we are is like we're doing some questioning and some wondering. And we can just be honest with people, because that's the only way to find that community that sees things from your perspective. And people who disagree are, I think that it's understanding that it depends on the circumstance, but I think sometimes it can be useful to understand that everybody's playing a different role. Within a greater picture, of course, you need different perspectives, because there's different circumstances, and different, you might be speaking metaphor and generalized terms, but not really understanding what the specific mechanisms and energies of that thing actually is. So just know you don't have to see eye to eye with anybody, but you do need to see eye to eye with yourself, like staying firm in yourself and being clear about your boundaries, and acknowledging that feeling a little bit uncomfortable at disagreeing with people, or not trying to make other people like feel reassured that you agree with everything they say, or not making people feel reassured that, of things that aren't, is kind of enabling in a way, enabling people's trauma and preventing people from seeking help sometimes, if we're constantly trying to reassure other people. Just acknowledging what is and what isn't our place to get involved in, and where we want to set our energy, and just always keeping in mind, because it can get really muddy out here. the terrain can get really muddy. So just always doing things, practices, making videos, writing, painting, uh, uh, exercising routines, things that you regularly do to stick in your mind. No, this is my identity. This is what I care about. This is my perspective. This is the thing that I will put energy into in order to keep alive in my soul and to remember, because so much about it is just not getting lost in the sauce and not getting distracted by all the things outside of us, because we have such good intentions, wanting to help other people, wanting to be there for people, wanting to make people happy, wanting people to feel safe. But our first responsibility is to make ourselves feel safe. And sometimes we make ourselves feel safe by making other people safe. There's always a give and take, like um kind of pro and cons, sometimes depending on your experience. And at the end of the day, we just have to find our own ways, whatever it is, to feel secure and to be able to affirm that it's good, that everything happening is good. It's the best possible scenario we could have, given the point in history we live in, the opportunities, the genetics we were born with, the pre-family ancestral history, pre-family, I not pre-family, past family, ancestral stuff. Just all these unique factors, just accepting, acknowledging, and affirming to ourselves, so we don't have these doubts, we don't feel split, confused, like, should I be that, should I be that, where do I belong? The most important thing is just being able to affirm and having certainty in one direction or another, because there's many paths up the mountain, but to get up the mountain, you just have to have certainty and determination, and affirming the things that make you feel encouraged, affirming the things that make you feel more energized. And sometimes affirming needs action and things in place to feel really affirmed. So sometimes you might have to go the extra mile to have different physical changes and patterns in your life so you can feel affirmed and empowered. But whatever tools we take, using the opportunities before us, the whole purpose is to be able to feel our best selves, feel connected to other people, and just enjoy being alive and understanding we want to help the world, but we can't control and change the whole world. People have to learn for themselves, and you need people in safe places that are willing to reach out and lend an ear, lend an information to help people who are lost in the sauce remember certain things. And some people will never remember, and that is because they had different life experiences, which enabled them to have different compatibility, like with their environments and with their patterns, and what feels right for them, what is right for them, what role they play in the world and helping people. So I think it's really important to acknowledge, where it is and isn't our responsibility to help change other people. Yeah, so that's just what's on my mind today, and I wanted to just say, yeah, that when we're practicing these things, and for the purpose of building our resilience, I mean, these are the kinds of things that are crucial to provide that motivation, these kind of thoughts and underpinnings to understand the bigger picture, especially when things can start to get messy, things can start to get emotional, things can start to feel a little bit scary, things can start to feel uncertain. We go back to some patterns where we're feeling afraid, where we're feeling like we don't know who we are, where we don't know, where we don't have that certainty, where that nasty voice might be getting louder, and we kind of forget. We just forget for a minute. We forget what the secret key is to putting things back into perspective, and to just remembering to reclaim, continue to reclaim, continue claiming our powerful minds, being human beings, how we're able to change how we feel and our actions, our belief of our capacities, just by changing the narratives that we understand things in. At the end of the day, it's like, what is an effectful and useful narrative? Like, yes, we can see things in this way, but does it help bring about joy and peace and love? And for some people it does. It's like, well, I mean, you can have the same type of thing for some people. It'll be compatible and useful and effective for them to be thinking and using a certain narrative on a topic in this way. Other people, that same narrative won't be helpful. It's very individual. And we can't take it personally when people have a different truth than ours, because we are all so unique. We all have different experiences. And yeah, so I definitely affirm for you that you will find a way that you can reframe and understand a narrative differently around some kind of painful or, subject that just makes you feel less empowered. you know you will be able to think of a different way to interpret that. You'll be able to think of a different way to interpret that experience. And some kind of narrative, you'll be able to interpret it in a different way that is empowering and motivating for you and helps you feel closer to the kind of community and social strata, or like social group, culture, subculture, that you belong with, and makes you feel empowered, excited to live, excited to connect with other people, and not feeling like things have to be focused around demonizing and controlling other people through demonizing. Like, we have all experienced these things being on planet Earth, but we can't continue to let this be the dominant thought, that the dominant way of understanding things, because it's just not going to lead to our happiness. It's not going to lead to our happiness. And we are so powerful. We are so powerful, especially when we work together with other people who have similar compatibilities, similar um, understandings of their power and how they want to live their life and experience things. So, yeah, thank you so much for listening, and take care. Bye.